the broadcast so people can start joining us now. And I am going to start fussing with live on Facebook.
Okay.
And it'll just take a second.
Okay.
It won't just take a second. It'll take me a couple
few
of
minutes.
Yeah.
We understand.
We've seen
that.
Yeah. I wish they made that interface just a little, quicker, but what can you do?
Mm-hmm.
And we may have people who begin joining us.
What's on there?
And again, it'll just take me a second to get Facebook Live going. And because I have Zoom up, it's going to take just a little bit longer because that's how we want things to go.
I get it.
You know how that is.
We do. Poor
Yes.
Zoom is being stressed to the max.
Isn't it? It has become the tool. And overnight, there was apparently a security issue with Windows computers. They fixed that.
Wow.
So if you get the nudge to update.
Okay.
It's important to do.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. My husband's an IT guy.
Somebody wants to know if Becky gets a day off because it's before her anniversary. Oh, no, she is working.
Yeah, she is working. But she and I are actually adjusting our schedules to see who's available, because while we're doing these, we're still doing our full workload.
I know.
We are incredibly fortunate, incredibly privileged to still have work and plenty of work. And so that's why she isn't here today, and she won't be here Monday. I'll be doing Mondays and Fridays primarily. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And we're almost there on Facebook Live. Thank you all for hanging in there. I know that this takes, more time than we would prefer.
Hey, that fact that we can actually do this is amazing.
It's amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, having a video call and then streaming it live on another platform at the same time, it's kind of phenomenal.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And we are about to go live on Facebook. Yay. It's happening.
Right.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being patient, and we'll get started today. I'm Christy Clarke. As you've noticed, Becky does have the Daily Connection off today, but she'll be back later. And I am joined, and I'm so happy to be joined by CrisMarie Campbell and Susan Clarke. And these are two amazing women. They co-own a consulting and coaching agency called Thrive. And they are experts in relationships and having the tough conversations. And they're also authors of two amazing books, The Beauty of Conflict and The Beauty of Conflict for Couples. And today they're going to be here to talk to us about a pressing concern that we're all dealing with. How in the world do we live with all these people in our house? And how do we do it positively? So we're going to be diving into that. But we'd love to get started with some of your gratitudes. We like to start the Daily Connection with gratitudes, really a centering practice, because it's so anxious and crazy in the world that it's nice to come together and just talk about what we're grateful for. So CrisMarie and Susan, would either of you like to share something?
Yeah, I was thinking how grateful I am for the support that I receive when I need it. Like I can pick up the phone and call my coach and get support. And that's really grounding for me. And you'll learn more about that later.
I am actually really grateful I get to where I am. I could go out and visit the horses, and that is an incredibly grounding and centering thing. And they are herd animals, and it just feels like going and connecting to them, to the earth, and to other people. And I can feel a great deal of gratitude and open-heartedness when I do that.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That does sound great. And, I'm grateful for just spring. When I walk, I'm in North Carolina, so spring has happened here. I know in a lot of places in the country, spring's a little further behind, but we have all these flowers blooming, and it just makes you go, spring's here for a reason. This whole feeling of rebirth and hope. And even in these times, there's hope, and there's still flowers and butterflies. So I'm grateful for all of those beautiful things.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does remind
And
us that the world continues even though we're trapped in our houses.
Yes.
exactly. And that's what we're seeing, the gratitudes in the chat. Someone else mentioned the signs of spring. Someone else is talking about the people in their lives. Absolutely grateful for all the people and for our health and well-being. So lots of nice gratitudes coming in. But let's talk about people. You know, many of us have been in a relationship or we have children, and we think we know how to live with the people in our houses, and we're doing great. And then we're quarantined with the people in our houses. You know, what situations are you seeing with the people you work with?
Well, I was thinking at first, I'm reminded of the whole physics. Remember physics lab when you did the ripple tank, and you did one wave and then another wave, and the waves got bigger. And it can feel that way when you're trapped in your house with your significant other, or even more people, that our individual reactions. We all react differently to what's happening, and we all have different styles. And we've had these outlets that we can go and then come back. And now we don't. And so it can magnify my reaction or your reaction in that same experience, that closed container. So one, I just want to normalize, if you're struggling working and living with your people, it makes perfect sense. You're a normal human being.
That's good. That's good to know.
Yes.
I have a friend who will, message me probably every other day and just say, I have to get out of the house. Can we go walking? And we'll walk and we'll, keep our distance and everything. But she's like, I just can't be in the house right now. So that's one coping mechanism that we're doing. We go walking, but how can we, where should we start in dealing with these problems? Because I'm assuming that coping and leaving the house is not the best option here.
Well, it is a valuable one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, one thing is I think recognizing that each person who is in the house is dealing with this differently. So just being willing to take some time to say, how are you doing with the anxiety? How do you deal with it? What do you need? It's kind of like giving each person a chance to talk about what kind of support they need. And likely we haven't always had to do that, but now it becomes even more important to have a regular conversation about space and how are we going to share it? And who needs what, when? Those become really important. And so we actually encourage couples, families to have like a morning check-in real quickly. Who needs what today? And how can we support each other?
And even because we're sharing bandwidth, we're sharing spaces. We have different styles of being in our spaces. Like we had a disagreement yesterday because Susan can be very loud in the house, and I'm like, oh my God, that just drives me nuts.
I don't know what she's talking about. I'm not even talking, and she calls me loud.
The way she's moving around, she hums, she does all sorts of different things, and so I had to say, hey, I want to be upstairs. Can you be downstairs? And we have enough space that we can do that, thank goodness. But like having those conversations and even having them preventatively, that's what Susan's saying. Having a morning, we do this in business, have a morning huddle where you're, what's most important for you, right? And what's the schedule, so that we can coordinate and actually ask for what we need. Because a lot of times we're just doing things and we're not specifically asking, hey, this is what I want, or how can we make this happen? Because this is important to me. And what's important to you?
I think the idea of the morning huddle is so amazing, because we do it, in business. Even I've worked remotely for 6 years now, but we still have morning gatherings, different people. And to do that with your family seems like, well, yeah, why didn't I think of that? That's why you guys are the experts in relationships. But I think it's such a great idea. I had, with my youngest, who's 12, it wasn't a morning huddle. We were at dinner last night sitting around the table, and he said, silence freaks me out. And I'm like, what do you mean? Silence is a gift. He's like, it freaks me out. It makes me uncomfortable when everything's silent. And which is interesting because he always makes noise. And so I'm going, oh, I really like the silence. So it was a good conversation for us to figure out. what we like and what we don't. I need to have that conversation with my husband because
You know,
he's what I
you
think.
Yeah.
you were asking what we are hearing a lot, and you know what's interesting is so many people are working from home, and especially now, like I was talking to one client of mine, and she and her husband, they share the same office,
Wow.
and they are both on calls most of the day. They're both executives in different organizations, and she said it has been, really tense between us. He's giving her feedback about how she sounds on her meetings, and he's used to diving in and doing. He's not in quite as many meetings as she is, and so. But it was really interesting imagining trying to share the exact same space. So, and she was questioning at one point. She said, he really wanted me to get a new mic for my computer because it was driving him nuts, and headphones. And I could not see how that was an essential thing for Amazon to send me. And then I realized it was. So, so anyway, I can imagine,
Well, and even, it is so, we work with
Yeah.
business teams, and we've also, for the last 20 years, and we've also worked, Susan's a family therapist or former, and we work with couples. And it's the dynamics, the reason we can apply what we do with business teams to couples, because it's just human dynamics. And it's just, we're put into this. Now, work has just gotten really personal because now it's at home and you can't get away, from either in the whole mix. And it's a really interesting dynamic. So we're coaching a lot of executives, but coaching them also on their interpersonal dynamics around space and boundaries and how to actually take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like take enough space. So I like, Christy, that you go take a walk and get whatever you need. That is helpful.
Yeah, I will say the walks are incredibly, incredibly helpful. And I hope they're as helpful to my friend as they are to me, just because we do get to talk. Again, we're safe distances, but we get to talk and we both get to sort of vent some of the things that don't need to actually be said in a conversation with the people in the house, but you sometimes just need to get the feelings out. But how do you, so you are tense and there are struggles. How do you broach that conversation when you've already have tension and you are sharing a house? I think we tend to run from those hard conversations.
Yes.
So how do we tackle those?
Well, for me, I know like when we've had a disagreement, I think, I can storm off, but I only have so far to go, but but I can be like so in my righteousness that I am so right. And then I realize, wow, I really don't want this sort of dynamic between us. And so we talk about two magic ingredients, vulnerability and curiosity. And it can be tough to acknowledge, but to sink in and say, wow, I really didn't like that I did that. To come back and talk about what is happening. I'm uncomfortable. I don't know how to actually process all this emotion. So you're getting it, whatever it is. And then being interested and curious on the impact it's having on her or somebody, the other person, are two really powerful tools.
And I think being willing when you're doing that to also let someone know, hey, I need to check this out with you. Are you available? Can we talk ahead of time so that someone, it's like, if CrisMarie is needing to tell me that she wants space, but she has a tendency to think, oh, that's actually not going to be okay.
I shouldn't ask her for that.
That's going to sound mean. I think people, or whatever, then, if she just says, hey, I need to check this out. I just need this for me. And it may have nothing to do with you, but I really would like to have a little more space. It seems very different when she's talking about it instead of if she said to me, hey, you're too noisy, you get in my way, you're not doing
a lot of you statements.
Then I'm probably way more defensive, versus being able to hear, oh, you need space because you want some quiet time. It's not about me. And then I can be more clear about whether I can give her that and how I could give her that space.
We talk about this in our couples book. It's called the boundarying process. How can I actually come from, rather than making all these rules or talking about her, but what is it that I want and need? And how can I state that in a way that's about me and actually take the action to make it happen? So I want alone time. So I'm going to actually go up to the bedroom and work from my bed and on my computer. And I don't want to be interrupted for a couple of hours. Can you agree to that?
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like a wall, but I'm stating what I want. And can you agree to that or not?
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so powerful because, you know, not all of us, but those you statements are so easy.
Oh, they come out so fast.
They come so fast. You left a glass. You made noise. You are in the shower the moment I need the shower. You know,
Yes.
all of those things. Maybe some of these have happened in my house. They're coming too easy for me too. But I love that switch to I need this. Can you help? That's a powerful tool. I think that I will be using that later today. Thank you. That's really helpful.
The other question that's always valuable to ask is, you know, because I can react to something that CrisMarie may say she wants, but if I can just step back before I go there, and so why is that so important to you? Like, help me understand why you need me to be quieter right now, or so what's behind that? Like, instead of just getting upset, like, be willing to sort of drop back down. Like, I was thinking of even Christy, when you were describing your census, he likes quiet, and he doesn't like quiet, and you do.
Yeah.
Like, I love that, you know, you got interested and curious about why that was important to him. And so often that gets missed, but that question has helped me sort of step back, and because this is someone I love and care about. So even they may be wanting something that seems totally insane to me, but if I can just go, well, okay, all right, help me understand why it's so important.
I think that's why we're struggling right now, is that these are people we love and care about.
Yes.
These are people we think we know how to live with. But someone in the chat, Carol in the chat, just said, you know, for many of us, we spend more time with our work colleagues than we actually do with our family. So it's almost
so
like
true.
we're relearning these relationships and how to live, yet we feel wrong to do that because I know how to live with these people. This is my family. I should know this. So it's a real odd position.
You know, the game has changed. And so it is sort of like being able to talk together and have so what's most important to us right now? How are we going to navigate this? Because even though we're all committed to being this family and who we are, the game has changed. And we were quoting it was Mike Tyson once said, you know, everyone says they have a strategy until they get punched in the face, and then they don't, you know. And in some respects, we've suddenly been punched in the face not literally by our people, but we're all there. And so whatever we had set up as our status quo before has changed. And if you don't actually talk about that and address it, then it really does get uncomfortable.
But this is a great time to use this stress to build more trust and intimacy with these people that you thought you had it with. and one of the ways to do that is even just talk about, like, I love that your son said, I feel uncomfortable with silence. Like, talk about what it is for you. Do you see this as an opportunity? Do you see it as a threat? How are you experiencing your anxiety? Because when people talk and share about it, it moves it to, research shows, it moves it to a different part of the brain. So you're not reacting from it. You're actually processing through it. And then you can say, and so how can, you can ask each other for help, which helps build the connection and the trust. So we're in this together, not against each other.
I was working with another client of mine who's an executive it was fascinating. She has made incredible plans for her kids in every way, shape, and form to make sure their day is taken care of. And one of the sessions I was asking her, what about you? And she's like, no, not at all. And what she said, it's funny you should say that, because I've noticed that my children are bringing me lunch and they're taking care of her. And it's like, we had a conversation about that, and she started to realize, wow, I have totally left myself out of this equation. And it's like, wow, if you think about that and apply that to yourself, imagine how significant that would be, both for your family and even for your work. And she's actually noticed a big difference, in kind of applying that same caretaking role, so-called caretaking, to herself. So.
And we talk really important.
Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, no, you go ahead, CrisMarie. I just think that self-care is important, and especially for moms, we get schedule everybody out,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to think about our own self-care and our own anxiety because we are taking care of everyone else.
Yeah.
And
And it is, I mean, I think it's important to not just stay busy, but to process what you are feeling, because this is really normal that we're all discombobulated because it's unprecedented. We haven't learned how to deal with this. And we talk about this, any of our books, there's always a me axis. And it is that whole put on your own oxygen mask first before you take care of other people. And I think in this time of stress, we don't actually know how to do that because it feels so uncomfortable. Like, how do I can't go get a massage. I can't go to the gym, you know? So our ways of self-soothing have shifted. So we've even been talking to people about, you know, finding ways to like connect to your senses, like light candles or put lotion on, some way that actually activates, it settles your primal brain and gets you into more of a parasympathetic response is really valuable.
We had the opportunity last week to interview Katie Hendricks, who her and her husband did Conscious Living of Loving.
Yeah.
And but she's now on a new project, you know, Cracking the Code of Fear. And it was a really neat interview where she talked about very specific things you can do right now, just simple 2-minute things that totally shift your relationship to fear or anxiety. And they can be done with the family. And we, you know,
because they're moving techniques and so our podcast just went out yesterday if people are interested, because they're just simple things to do. And even as simple as, this is not from Katie, this is from us, but stop and take a 2-minute dance break.
Yeah.
Like literally, because it takes at least 2 minutes for your system to settle down, whether you're working really hard or really stressed out. So stop and do something, because this body is actually a good resource. We get so caught up in our mind and it's not very helpful at all.
you know, that's a good reminder because, and some people, you know, if we have kids, I know I have some kids and we've talked about, oh, we're going to have a dance break. Now, I said my youngest is 12. He doesn't really like the dance breaks, but he will grudgingly participate. No one can see him, so he can let go. But, you know, even if you don't have kids in the house, give yourself permission to just do it. To just have those dance breaks. It's just so important. And in our chat, Erica mentioned that she lives alone, but she's had so many friends and family reach out. Yeah. So, you know, and connect in this way that has really been a positive about relationship. So maybe we could talk about that too. We're in these 4 walls, but how do we look out and connect, and ideas to deepen those connections that may happen via Zoom or just a phone call with our extended family.
One of the things I think about is it's great. I love that. That was almost going to be my gratitude, the fact that we can do this virtual work. But also to actually make sure you talk about what you really feel, not just make it social. And because I think this is an unprecedented time of all of us have high emotions and we're not used to sharing that, whether we're afraid or sad or angry. Those
or
all make,
even some people might be excited.
Yeah.
It's a time of change. Something new and different could happen.
But to be able to process that so that energy moves through, and with another human to witness that, even on a video chat, can be quite healing and grounding. It kind of like resets. For when I have a good cry, which I have had several during this whole process every few days, it like resets my circuits and I feel more rejuvenated. And you were,
I'm sorry. Please, Susan, what were you going to say?
You know, I just think there's so many ways, like sharing favorite, your favorite piece of music, or, you know, what you're baking. I mean, how many people
are baking right now?
I just am amazed, like, you know, and it's kind of fun to see. And, you know, sharing recipes, things that we may not have done in so long, because suddenly this is our way of connecting and caring. And
it takes us back to kind of almost a simpler time, even though we have this technology. But some people don't have such full plates of working, and so they can do some of these things we pulled out a puzzle. So we're doing a puzzle at night. I've never done puzzles, but that's another way. It's a group experience, and puzzling, research has shown, is quite grounding because you're very present in that piece. So you're not thinking about other things.
Yeah. And I mean, I've also been really struck by people who are, you know, our community and other communities, the ways they're finding to support small businesses that are struggling, to support each other, to find, make sure we have this little neighborhood group. So if you are available to go get stuff for people, you can go get it. They started a teddy bear in the window thing. I don't
Yeah.
even quite know what it is, but it, we did put a bear in the window just to support the cause. But the things that people are doing, I think, is bringing communities together in a different way. I didn't, some of my neighbors I didn't even know before.
Even thinking about businesses learning to collaborate with even their competitors in order to weather this storm is pretty powerful. Yeah.
Oh, well, I was seeing in the comments that someone has lost someone to the virus, their father, in a way. Wow, that is so hard. We have a neighbor who's a physician, and same thing. Her mother died, and she hasn't been able to go. I mean, she said the work is so demanding that it keeps her away from the grief. But oh my, that would be really difficult.
And probably to give yourself permission to process the grief and be okay if you can't process that, like you're coping, because we cope. And if there's things that are supportive of you, and reaching out to a friend and talking to people in your family, those are some of the things that I would do to process through that and just be very gentle, because it will take time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very sorry for your loss.
Yes. So sorry.
That is so difficult, but I do think sometimes for me, that is where music, if I play music, I can bring in sometimes who I need to connect to. And there are ways in which I can use that music to deal with my grief, to connect to, memories, and that it's also a way of processing it. And surprisingly enough, that I think, you may not feel like you're there, but I do think that those things do connect us, in a way that's pretty profound.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And that is, it's so difficult, and absolutely you have our condolences. And I think music is a powerful way. I lost my father a year ago, long before Corona, but it was music. I have a playlist that are songs that I would play with him. He had Alzheimer's, and I would the music stays with us.
Yeah.
And we would have music nights when I would be with him in his final days, and we would listen to music. And I still have that playlist, and I'll still listen to it because it brings him back. And Rudy, you're going to be processing the grief for a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
And so you have our thoughts and prayers, even though that sounds trite, but our deep heartfelt feeling is with you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're almost out of time. This has gone so fast. I think there's so much we could talk with you guys about all day. For me, the takeaways are being vulnerable and curious, and talking about feelings in a way that I don't normally talk about feelings.
Yeah.
And have the permission to do that is amazing and powerful. But what final thought would you like to leave us with today?
Well, and also have the kind of morning huddle, have a kind of an evening debrief, and just even like what worked, what didn't, or a weekly debrief. What worked, what didn't, what do I want to do differently? Taking responsibility for that. And just like you do in business, like keeping that conversation going. And being curious about how other people are experiencing, these people that you thought you knew, what is rattling them, and how can you support them, or what other support do they need? Because there are coaches available, there's friends available, there's clergy available. So don't be shy just because you're at home. I think we don't think about, I could call somebody up for support for me, not just a friend, but like to get help.
I was thinking too, someone once said, no one is going to end this by saying they had too much communication of care and concern. So whatever's happening, remembering you may think you're doing too much. It's unlikely if it's coming from a caring and concerning place. And so stay in that conversation, both for yourself and for others.
I wanted to give one other tool. It's called the 555, and we talk about it in our Beauty of Conflict for Couples book, but it's 15 minutes to process with your partner. 5 minutes, one person talks and the other listens. The next 5 minutes, the other talks and the other listens. And then the third 5 minutes is a dialogue. It's a nice compact way, 15 minutes. And you don't have to talk the whole time in your 5 minutes. You can kind of settle in and see what's there. But it's a great way to say, how are you? you could talk about money, you could talk about the corona, you could talk about how you're feeling, your day, and it's just a good processing tool. So I wanted to say that.
Yes.
That's terrific. And you mentioned the book, and both of your books are available on Amazon. Amazon's, shipping is a little wonky right now, but you can get the ebooks immediately.
Yes.
The Beauty of Conflict and The Beauty of Conflict for Couple, and these books are amazing. If you are really wanting to work on your relationships, work, personal life, check those out and share with us. I know people who've listened to this conversation are going to want more from you. Share with us how they can connect with the two of you.
Well, we're at our website is thriveinc.com. So that's THRIVEINC.com. And we also have a free gift for you listeners and watchers. And it's how to have tough conversations at work, but it works at home too, the model. It's a little mini ebook about 10, 15 pages. And the way you can get that is you can text and it will come right to your email box. So text 406-350-7691. That's 406-350-7691. And put your name and your email. That's the number you put in, but the message body is your name and your email. And you'll get a reply. And all you have to do is type the word beauty, BEAUTY, like beauty of conflict, beauty. And the how to have tough conversations at work will come to your email box. And you can use it at home because it just takes you through some examples and it's really helpful to prepare for a tough conversation. And you can also find, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say you have a podcast.
Yes.
Let them know where to find it.
Yeah, The Beauty of Conflict is we're really consistent. Our podcast is called The Beauty of Conflict. And we're releasing episodes for your support right now. And you can find that on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify. And we've got some great episodes about Unlock Your Fear Code, dealing with times of crisis. We're about to release a relationship one, some of these same ideas. So I think you'll really enjoy that.
Terrific. Well, thank you both so much for being here. We're going to follow up with everyone with, in the chat, we have the information for how to have tough conversations at work, how everyone can get that. But everyone will get an email as well. All of you listening will get an email as well with all of this information so you can connect with CrisMarie and Susan. And thank you, ladies, so much. Such terrific information to get us through this time. We really appreciate it.
Can I say one other thing, Christy?
Of course you may.
We also, if you need support, we do one-on-one coaching and we also do couples coaching, which we think is more important now than ever.
Amen.
Yes.
ThriveInc.com to connect with them. You're going to want to go there as soon as we wrap up. Well, again, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. And the Daily Connection from Weaving Influence will be back on Monday. We're going to talk with Denise DeStasi then. And as ever, Weaving Influence, we're here for any marketing and PR support you may need. We support lovely people like CrisMarie and Susan and other leadership and business thought leaders and consulting companies. So if you fit into any of those categories, or even if you don't, feel free to reach out to us at weavinginfluence.com because we'd love to hear from you. Again, a big thank you to Susan Clarke and CrisMarie Campbell. Thank you, ladies. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.